This is our last broadcast of 2013. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fabulous, and I assume that your holidays were fabulous, and all of our listeners had a fantastic end of the year, and we're preparing ourselves for a clean sheet, a new beginning.
A big new beginning. I mean, and coming off of a very intense, deep year. I mean, we've all gone through so much, and Pluto has really shown up for this new year. So talk about exposing quite a lot. I think this was a deep year of exposing in ourselves, and we begin this year with exposing everything we've gone through in order to really wipe that slate clean and step into this transformation. I think that just the cornerstone of the whole calendar date of January 1st and starting over is perfectly aligned with the astrology. How unique is that? That's very rare.
Yeah, the fact that we have a new moon on New Year's Day is very, very cool. And the fact that it's sitting on top of Pluto in Capricorn along with the sun is very, it's very validating that we have finished a huge amount of work. We've spent a year going through powerful transformations. We've been watching squares and T-squares and grand trines and sextiles that were interactive with the entire solar system. All of the planets were present for the dance over this last year, and I think that it really is like the grand finale. It's like the fat lady finally has finished her aria, and we're moving to a new scene in the opera, a new way to express ourselves in a new era. And interestingly enough, David, you know what I find very exciting is that we have on New Year's Day, if you go out, you're not going to see the moon-sun conjunction, very dark sky, and there's going to be a meteor shower. And how symbolic is that of that whole shooting star, make a wish, get out there and enjoy the night sky and know that the planets are doing this heavenly dance on your behalf.
Wow, I didn't know about the meteor shower, and that really signifies so much as this new moon, this Pluto energy on new moon. I mean, talk about new beginnings just on a new moon. When you add Pluto to the equation, it wipes everything out. We're all wiped out, I think, as a whole. I think we're all ready to really signal a new story in our lives, as it was so intense and so deep. 2013, so much water energy, Saturn in Scorpio, Jupiter moving into Cancer. I mean, a huge plethora of deep mystical energy, and I think we're leaving 2013 pretty much still confused. And I think we step into this new year with, like you say, this signal also. I'd look at that as almost a signal from God, a meteor shower, this new beginning, a new moon, Pluto, that, you know, we can move forward in a new direction. But we have to be honest, this new moon is heavily stressed in the middle of a big cardinal cross. But I think that this brings for excitement. I think it means that there's going to be a lot happening in our lives, a lot going on. But it also does require, I think, a lot of responsibility to handle this energy.
It absolutely does. One of the things that I have found in observing other people's charts and doing readings for other people is that people who have one or two or three grand trines in their chart and very few other aspects, no squares, no sextiles, their life generally is pretty boring. You know, you think, oh, benevolent trine energy, this is going to be wonderful. We just slide through. And that's exactly what happens. You don't put a lot of effort into life. You don't do a lot to evolve within that lifetime. And I think that when we see the squares and the sextiles and the quincunx and the oppositions, those create the dynamic tension that causes us to wake up from our current conditions and consider the possibilities of where are we and where are we going. And this year is going to see that final passage of this on-again, off-again squaring activity between Uranus and Pluto. And for all of the grief that it's given us, it has forced us to stop and evaluate all of the different levels of our lives and what's happening on that earthly level, what's happening on that passion level of fire, what's occurring in that airy level of the intellect, and even more importantly, what's coming forth from the depths of that watery part of our chart. So we've had a tremendous year of forced evolution, a lot of activity, but we have to embrace that and rejoice in the fact that we're no longer sitting on our dead ass. We're actually moving. We're actually doing stuff. We're in the dance, and the dance is what it's all about.
It is a big dance, and this is a time, like you say, where it's positive tension. You're right. People with a lot of squares and oppositions and quincunxes and yods and everything tend to you're not comfortable just sitting down. You know, you're not comfortable just wasting energy. I would say that this is about not wasting any energy. I would also say that maybe it could be a difficult year if you want to just kind of waste your life away. I would say that this is a year that's about making something happen. We're in Capricorn, and it's very heavily supported with a Venus retrograde in this time period. And to have a Venus retrograde on the new year is very unique and very rare with the new moon. I mean, we're talking about the universe is throwing in every, unique card hand possible to make this royal flush happen. I mean, this is like a royal flush. It's like one of those hands that you very rarely get. You very rarely get a Venus retrograde with a new moon on top of Pluto in a big cardinal cross like this. This is one of those royal flushes. Now, they're not easy to get, and when you get it, you got to make sure that you know how to use it or see it. Sometimes, somebody might not see it and throw a couple of those cards out to get a couple better cards. This is a year where what you have, where you've came now, was all destined. I believe that with Capricorn energy especially, that you couldn't have strived any farther or anything. You were supposed to be at this point. You have a new beginning, a new start. Use it, put the pressure on yourself to be better. This is a time to make big things happen.
It absolutely is. And if we go back and look at 2013, for me, and for a lot of people I know, when we had that triplet of eclipses back in April, May, that seemed to start a series of events that created a whole alternative timeline. And of course, a lot of people remember that back in June, when Jupiter, on the exact day Jupiter moved into Cancer, I went into the hospital, and even though that was an energy that shifted from a squaring position to my sun to a trining position to my sun, it definitely threw me into a whole different vision of what my life was, what the content of my life was, and what I needed to create for a vision for the future. So it really helped me grasp the idea that not all things come easily, and not all things come with good, happy events. Sometimes a car wreck is a turning point in your life, and after you survive it, you have arrived at a point that you would never have attained had it not been for that event. And we're seeing that really illuminated in our astrology right now. So I would say that this year is the year when we finally get the understanding, when we finally grasp the meaning of the events of 2013, 2012, 2011, when we started to move into this big era of dynamic stress, change, and transformation.
Yeah, and if we kind of focus on Pluto, I mean, Pluto came in 2008. So, it's been a long period here. This is, 6 years, wow. That we've been hanging out with Pluto in Capricorn, which has been, really changing people's lives intensely and really brought us into this new deep zone that's much different. It's about changing the structure of your life, changing the structure of your soul. The world's changing. This is an intense period. And I think you're right, 100%. We have to go through all different kinds of energy. And really, astrology does show when those periods get to those points of positive or negative, or when we're going to see the shift in energy. We've been dealing with a long-term shift, though, that it just seems to be like when you move to the next shift, there's a whole party waiting for you of more shifts. And it continues with this in 2014. So I think if you just want to look in the distance, we also got to look at the Pluto-Uranus square, which we're in the middle of right now. It started in 2012. It ends in 2015. We're dead center in this. And you know, if there's any time to really look at, you know, when does this let up? I get that a lot, not only from my own mother, but, you know, like friends, family, people that I do readings for. You know, we're in the middle of a Pluto-Uranus square. The last time this happened was during the Great Depression. And they pulled out of that time. And they then went into world wars and so forth, and they pulled out. We're actually quite lucky, I would say, through this Pluto-Uranus square, even though we're going through a lot. You know what? We have a financial system that hasn't fully collapsed. Whether you want to call it whatever it is, if it's fake or what, you know, I don't care about all that stuff. All I care, the fact is, every day you have a beautiful meal on your plate that you could microwave, or you could go get a 5-star dinner, and everybody can afford a 5-star dinner. You know, I mean, we're at a time in our life where we're given everything that you could possibly want. It's inside attaining a deeper meaning of your life, which is what you have to attain now. And that's what this is, the camel's back breaking in your life is, you know what? You can have whatever you want. Why are you having shit for life? That's up to you to change now. That's up for you to change. And that's what we're going through, is this dynamic, powerful reinvention of ourselves at the same time of breaking the camel's back of the structure of how you live by, or the concrete you've anchored your life in. And so, you know, it's a continued process, a long-term transformational event. And 2014 is, if you want to be honest, no different than 2013. Sure, the characters change and the dynamics change, but we're still going through a long-term event of transformation, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does. And one of the things that's happening with this arrival of January 1st, you know, we've got the sun at 11 degrees of Capricorn. We've got the moon coming into 11 degrees of Capricorn. We've got Pluto at 11 degrees of Capricorn. And Mercury moving out of that 11th degree into the 12th degree. So we've got 4 planets that are very profound because they are intimate planets. The sun and the moon and Mercury are all about me, about my life. And they're aligning themselves with Pluto and what's happening across the solar system here on the other side of the chart. We've got Jupiter going retrograde at 16 degrees. And I like to see the opposition as being like the grounding rod. This is like the lightning rod. This is the chunk of steel on the top of your barn where the lightning hits and it is transferred down and grounded out and you're able to implement it. So as we're seeing this cluster over in Capricorn up in the top of the chart, this is a series of events that are happening at the high point in our life, the sun at noon, and this energy is being channeled down magnificently and dramatically into our home life, into our intimate personal life. So this has the potential to be one of the most profound New Years you could ever experience. And your receptivity to powerful change is what is going to determine how useful 2014 is to you, not only on day one, but throughout the entire coming year. Because like you said, we have a year of this magical dance between Uranus and Pluto. They're going to be going back and forth, squaring and then releasing the tension, then squaring and releasing the tension. So big, profound changes and hopefully a exotic and powerful outcome for everyone who is embracing the energy.
And that's what it's leading towards, is a powerful, magical change. And I'm a huge believer in the new age, and that's the new age of Aquarius coming in. And any age, I believe, has to release the tension from the past age. I mean, that's just the way that it works. I think galactically we've made it to our spot, but I think that the Earth and our solar system is now adjusting to this change. And this is just the way that the cycle of time works. It's so beautifully orchestrated that you start to realize the power in not only God, but this universe when you start to see and understand cycles of time where it's just so perfectly synced up so far in advance. It just, you wonder what's really going on here. It's so beautiful. It's like, it's almost just too perfect. It's like, and we're at this tension being released in our lives, but we have to go through it. It's like the turbulence when the space shuttle has to leave Earth. That's a wild ride. But when you get up there, wow, was it worth it? Same thing when the space shuttle has to land, too. It's a turbulent ride back to Earth. It's not an easy ride. There's heat shields. You're going 20,000 miles an hour, I think is what it is. I mean, it's crazy. It's just like, and then once you make it through, but we're in that spot right now. We're in that place of trying to reach out of the atmosphere and trying to get back into the atmosphere. It's tumultuous. And that's to be real. I don't think anybody on the planet, no matter what they try to say, can escape this. I mean, I think people are doing as best as they can to escape it, but you'd just be lying to yourself to say that you're completely fine and that you're just normal and that you're not going through change in your own world and your own life and not knowing how to deal with it and having to, keep your hands on the wheel gripped with a little bit of sweat. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's bad, but it definitely means that all of your energy is on that spot in your life,
Yeah, it's that period of personal invocation, looking for that essence of the divine within yourself, and then evoking it, that evocation where you're bringing it to the surface, you're learning how to utilize it in a deeply personal way, and the recognition, and I think we're going to see a lot of recognition of this reality, like you were speaking of, as far as the new age being upon us, as we see the sun, Mercury, and the moon, and all the different activities going on when we go up to Aquarius time, coming in late February, late January and February this year, because that's when it's going to become very obvious that we do have so much good and so much luxury in our lives, and yet there is still a part of the world that is suffering. There is a part of the world that is unfed, and this is going to begin to put the spotlight on that activity of bringing the whole world into harmony and getting rid of the nationalism, getting rid of the wars, getting rid of the uneven and often tragic aspect of the human experience. So this is what we're being led up to. And I think that Mars sitting down there in Libra is kind of a precursor of looking at friends, relationships, people around us. Did that little kid down at the end of the block get anything at all for Christmas? And do you feel a need to go get a toy and pass it along? So yeah, I think that social consciousness in the 2014 era is going to advance dramatically. I think Saturn, with its activity in Scorpio, as it's finishing up this journey through the depths of the psyche, through that region that a lot of people are afraid to go and examine in their own lives, the Saturnian energy is going to aspect a lot of this activity for us too. And I think we're going to start to all become the wounded healer of ourselves and those around us. I think Chiron is where all of this is going to ultimately come to a finality, because we'll have Jupiter coming back to 10 degrees Pisces, 10 degrees Cancer, and it's going to aspect Chiron in Pisces, and that's when we're really going to see the beginnings of profound and deep healing.
Yeah, we are all learning to really, I think, heal our soul. I think it's a soul thing, especially in Pisces, as Chiron hangs out in Pisces longer than it does in a lot of other signs, you know. Chiron has such a weird orbit that when it comes into like Aquarius, it's in for a year. But when it comes into Pisces, it's in for multiple years. It's like it really is a weird energy. And I think it's interesting that it waits and stays a long time in Pisces because there is a lot of spiritual work to do. This is also about learning to find our true consciousness and unconsciousness, because that's the battle of Pisces, is the in and out of this reality. And how do you become aware, or how do you become so unaware that it causes you to be lost? I mean, it's a very weird sign, Pisces. It's a very tricky one too. It's not easy to catch a fish, especially when you just try and catch one with your bare hands. It slips out of your hands. Pisces is a very slippery slope. And I think that it's so beautiful because of that, that spirituality is a very slippery slope. Our souls are a very slippery slope. It's not easy. Right when you think you've got a grip on your spiritual energy, oh my gosh, you stop meditating, or you stop praying, or you stop doing this for a week, and now you're back in the unconscious realms. I mean, that's how spirituality works. That's why Buddhism and all these spiritual practices for years have had such strict and intense practices, because our souls are the most hardest things to keep, I guess, in control of, and keep in sync with, and keep in, in structured with. And this is a time in our lives where we're all having to be that Buddhist. We're all having to do these things that require us to make sure that we're truly becoming aware and not unaware, whether that's in governments, or whether that's in your spiritual practices, or whether that's in where you live and what you eat and what you do with your time. That energy is now affecting you in every little nook and cranny of your life. And that is a really wild thing to go through. It's not normal. We never had to go through this alive before. But that's what happens when you switch gears of ages, that the old story and the way that it was is over. And I think people who keep trying to live in the way it used to be, which I see a lot of people doing, they're not letting go. I think part of the whole purpose of Pisces is to let go of reality. It is opposing Virgo. It is to let it go and to fly into the new realm by allowing it. The only way you're going to make it through this is by surrender, is by letting it drift you out to sea wherever it drifts you. And, you have to stay in control of that, which actually is a hard thing to do for many, because they look at the world and the way that things are happening as that you have total control of your life. And I think that the grips of control are at their peak intensity with Pluto, that people are all trying to hold on to everything that they've attained and made, and not letting go when God says let go. When it's time to let go, you've got to let go. And especially as Venus retrogrades during this new year, you're going to have to let go of relationships. You're going to have to let go of value systems that you might be holding on to, that might be taking you off the wrong trail now. And that can be very difficult, I think, to deal with, because I want to touch base on the difficulty of all this, because we have to be real that, this is a time where, it's a bumpy road. You're not going to get a seat that does not have turbulence. So you're going to have to deal with it. And part of it is in your relationships, how you're looking at these relationships, how you're dealing with them, how you're looking at your value systems. Like you said with Mars and Libra, I mean, we're dealing with judgment calls that I think are an important aspect, as well as Mars is willing to judge anything. And I think we need to put our judgments in the right places. I think we need to be allowed to open up doors before we completely judge. But we also need to be real with these relationships. So it's a very difficult road. Make sure you're not judging somebody, but also make sure that you're real about somebody and that you're not connecting to it if it's not part of your path anymore. I mean, this adds for, difficult decisions to make in our lives.
It absolutely does. Pardon me. But the thing that I'm looking at here is that there is release and relief on the way, because we've got Saturn in Scorpio advancing, we've got Venus in Capricorn retrograding, and the two are going to start interacting more and more and more. And this is, Saturn is very good at teaching us to just release things. You know, one of the elements that Saturn recognizes is when we're afraid to release, when we're not willing to release, it will wrench things from our hands. And we're going to see Saturn interacting with Venus, and it is going to be taking on that element. And if you are ready to release, it will very gently remove the attachments that you no longer need. But if you're in resistance, you're going to have World War III on your hands as these two, toward the middle part of the month, really start to kind of go through that symbiosis where they're fully integrating, fully coming together with their energies in a sextile position.
I think it's an excellent alignment because it's going to bring solid ground. I mean, to these decisions you make. And unfortunately, as we are on an earth where we are all one, but I think the way that this one works is by connecting correctly. And I think in our tribes and in our friendships, our family members and everything, we're all kind of having to really align to be in our correct energies. And I think it's important for us all to connect to everybody with compassion and so forth. But this is switching teams and energies that are more on the same vibration now. I mean, it's dealing with Saturn in Scorpio. It's bringing solid truth to the picture, solid facts that are exposed. You know, it's dealing with deep exposing. And you got to be honest and make your decisions with the exposing in these relationships, these friendships, and and that's what makes this difficult. You know, we want to be diplomatic, we want to try and work it out, but at the same time, you know, it's the story of somebody that gets beat every day, but yet they pay their bills, so I'll continue being beat, even though, you know, it's bad for me. I get my rent paid every month. It's like these situations in life, whether they're as extreme as that or they're as simple as this person is energetically not correct for me, is going to start to come up because Venus finally just got off its stationary position and it finally started to move. So we haven't even seen the true movement of this karma and these relationship energies coming to the forefront yet. We haven't even begun to see the whole story unveil yet.
Exactly. And that's why I go back and look at the meteor shower on the 1st and 2nd of January as being like pixie dust with the potential of this coming year and the coming events and the coming possibilities for deep and profound healing. So all in all, I would say 2014 is going to be a remarkable era for those who are entering into this period consciously awake and trying to implement the energies in their lives and trying to go with the dynamic of the universe. So how about we take a look at a card or two and see what that looks like for 2014. The overall theme for 2014, nice. We're starting off with a wonderful card. The how Capricornish could this possibly be? The Queen of Coins, the Queen of Pentacles, and this is all about giving birth in this earthly realm and nurturing all the things that you place value on, all the things that have value for you. So this is really a birthing experience, the first day of 2014, and it is a call for you as an individual to nurture all of the elements within your life. As we continue to advance through the day, we're going to see some restless energy coming in here. We're getting a little spike of energy from Mars down there in Libra, adding a little edge to all the different day after the new year kind of energy. You know, some people will have their hangovers, some people will be watching games on television, but there's that sense that something has left, that something has moved on. The Sagittarius energy has dissolved more completely. By Thursday, Friday, we're going to definitely feel like we want to do something new and something different. This is the Emperor Mars energy once again, asking us, how high can you climb on the mountainside here? How much of a spot on the top of the peak do you want to proclaim your kingdom to be? And the Emperor dwells where eagles are constantly in motion. The eagles like to set up there at the top of the world and observe the activity of the humans down here on the planet. So a big part of midweek and this synergy that's going to be initiated on New Year's Day is about creating a vision, creating a game plan, and being willing to implement that plan. As we move forward, we've got the Hierophant. And this particular card, it shows up in a lot of decks as the Pope. It shows up as, structure, Capricorn energy. But in this particular instance, I'm reverting over and perceiving this more as the divine hermaphrodite, which you do find illuminated in certain decks. And within that idea, you have the idea of being able to impregnate yourself, being able to pull something out of yourself and give birth to something that is beautiful and profound and exciting. And as we move through the weekend and fully into 2014, we discover that once again, by surrendering our claim on things, we have reclaimed the power of giving our lives direction and content to abroad. So again, that paradox of surrender in order to gain control really gets illuminated at the beginning of this year.
Wow. All those cards really do signal exactly what's happening. I especially think the Queen of Pentacles is it's very Capricorn. I think it's very earthly bound, and I think that we have to manifest correctly now. And from a feminine point of view, I think not so masculine. I think it's important to take our time, pay attention to. I think the Queen of Pentacles is very spiritual. She's deeply enriched in earthly spiritual realms, and I think we need to really plant the right seeds in our life based off of correct planning, based off our correct destinies. And then, that Knight of Wands mixed with the Emperor is so strong and masculine. It's about power. I think it's about, we have our true power when we connect with a good plan, because it is Capricorn. And that when we come from a place of, true masculinity, which I think needs to be the new lesson of Mars and Libra, is bringing the more diplomatic man to the forefront. And especially to make sure we don't go into wars, and that we don't go into wars in our own life. And then as we mix in the rest of those cards, especially that the Pope, I think that at the end of the day, the last card being that Pope card, to me, is a spiritual union. I think it's a deep spiritual union we connect with, and having the world in your hands. There's something great that can come out of all this. You could really have the world in your hands, but you're going to have to have a good plan. You're going to have the correct energy and use it correctly, because even though the cards signal where you could go, I think the astrology gives the secrets of how to access this, which means there's a lot of responsibility with this big cardinal cross, and there's a lot of tension that you're going to need to channel correctly.
Exactly. And again, that idea of the hermaphrodite, recognizing that we have got to get beyond this vision of I am a man or I am a woman, and recognize I am a complete and whole being. And both of these elements reside within me, and they are in harmony. I am not going to allow myself to fall into that position of being in conflict with my own feminine nature or my own masculine nature. We have to really put a lot of attention this coming year on synthesizing the two energies, bringing them together, and realizing that's the only way that we can actually effectively produce anything, is to have those two elements in union within us, so that we can give birth to new ways of living and to contribute in a way that is meaningful to society around us.
Yes, what a great year to step into, an exciting year. We're very lucky.
Yeah, it's going to be a fabulous year, and you and I are getting ready to make some plans for some more elements that we're going to be adding to the program this coming year. So want to encourage people to again share the program and bounce things around, ask us questions, send your thoughts to us, and have the expectation of the week in advance evolving as the universe is evolving.
Yes. Well, thank you. It's been an excellent year, Chris, and thank you everybody for watching us. And I know I wish you, and I know Chris wishes you the best New Year ever. I mean, and thank you for everything that you guys support us with.
Thanks a lot, David. And you have a magnificent first day of 2014. Show up and enjoy life.
Oh, yeah. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Bye.